The SAS and SBS, we do the same selection. We have 97% commonality. The only difference is if there's a hostage situation on a cruise ship or an oil rig, both SAS and SBS will come together, but the command element will be ran by the SBS. If there's a hostage situation on an aircraft or a hotel or building, again, both units come together, but the SAS command will lead. And that's the only difference between the two units. So actually, when people may or may not be aware of this, but it's now common knowledge, but when the when the Iraq and Afghan conflicts were going on, SAS ran Iraq and SBS ran Afghanistan. And it got to a period of time where actually the SBS were more current in parachuting than the SAS were, and mobility. I mean, the SAS were more current in water ops than we were, just purely because of the theatres that we were operating in. And then post-military, we sort of went back to our traditional insurgent skills. Yeah, so unlike here where Delta and DevGru have their own different ones, actually ours is very much, because we don't have the numbers as they have here, so we have to come together as a unit.
When it came to the Marines, I would visualise what I thought a Royal Marine would do in a situation. I wouldn't visualise myself as Stas the recruit. I would visualise myself as Stas the Marine, with my green beret on, acting as a soldier, a professional soldier. How would I carry myself? How would I hold my weapon? How would my kit be configured? Mentally, when things are tough and I would be physically drained, how would I want myself to look to the outside world? How would I want to be perceived? And how would that make me feel as a person? And I think that helps. There's times where, there's lots of examples I can give you in Marines training, for example, where times are difficult, very hard physically, and you can even lean into that difficulty and that adversity and gain from that and see yourself coming out the other end, going through the fire, through the hardship, with a smile, a wry smile on your face.
I got lucky, and I got some training with the MI6. I lucked out.
The MI6, like the British MI6?
Yeah, when I was in the teams.
Are you allowed to talk about that?
Yeah, I mean, it's not terribly exciting to talk about, but I don't mind going through it. We were going to go into Bosnia, basically, and we were going to be hunting war criminals.
Huh.
Back
Sounds
when the
fun.
Bosnia-Kosovo stuff was going on.
Yeah.
I got yanked from that and put into Afghanistan because that was more important at the time, obviously. But yeah, they brought in a team of MI6 guys to actually teach us how to blend in, how to follow somebody in a team of 4, how to act if you're following somebody and they compromise you.
And then you talked about the mindset, the regiment, and I think that mindset again has to do with a lot of discipline, doesn't it? I think if you can have strength of mind, discipline of the mind, that self-discipline, to be able to follow through. And I found that, you can get the body very, very fit. You can get to its highest fitness. But it's times my body's let me down and it's my mind that's got me through. Stefan.
So can you elaborate a bit on that? I mean...
well, let's talk about the Bravo 3-0.
Right.
I mean, we were all going down with exposure, and exposure is an awful thing because it's the mind that was first. Okay, the mind was foggy. So if the mind's going foggy, you can't
make decisions, yeah.
So we are taught to recognise that within each other. So, if it's cold and I'm watching Stefano and he's doing silly things, guess what? He's probably going down with cold. And you see Des doing, that's not Des, So what we realised is that we had to make decisions early because we knew that we were going down with cold.
In fact, I'll tell you who the first guy was. Remember on SAS Who Dares Wins Again, there was Mel Downs, the black guy that was on, not the big American guy, but the guy that was on, I think it was maybe a year ago, something like that.
Yep.
And Mel, he's a good friend of mine as well. And he was the first ever SAS guy that I'd seen physically in life. And it was when I was down in Brecon doing a command course, and he was one of the DS. He was like an external postman down there. And he was like the embodiment of what you would think an SAS guy would look like. He was just like chiseled and he just looked the part, And he lived that part. He's an awesome bloke, and I've never ever seen someone as physically fit in my life. He was an absolute machine, and he demonstrated that down there. And everyone were just like, he's like a ghost guy. He's just like, he's not even human. He doesn't even look. He's not the same as me.
Because now there's 283 of us
all fighting for the position to get in the SAS.
One position?
Well, 7 of us got through out of
7 out of
283.
200. Wow.
Yeah. And that's...
How does that compare to the Navy SEALs? Is it a similar kind of dropout? Or?
No, I don't think so. I'd be wrong to say exactly because I don't know. But I mean, I think they have massive numbers compared to us, and their unit is like the size of our army.
Right.
You know, where the SAS is tiny, and I mean really tiny. I'm going to say what the numbers are, but it's ridiculously small. So it's not quite the same.
And they have that famous week down there in the middle of SEALs training, which is called Hell Week.
Hell Week, yeah.
Do you have an equivalent in the SAS?
You have hell, everything.
just
hell start to finish.
Welcome to hell.
Yeah, you literally get to the end, and I remember at the end, mate. I'd lost about 2 stone. I was absolutely.
There's nothing of you anyway.
No, and I was like, I don't care if I passed a fell. I ain't doing that again.
Really?
Yeah.
And then once you get to the end of it, SAS are badged up in Hereford, and then SBS have continuation training. So we actually have a longer selection process. We go into dive course and all that sort of stuff. So we get the badge SBS, and then you go into your dive course, your boat course, mobility and stuff like that.
So is there a decision there at that point, sort of Marine, yeah?
Yeah.
SBS, SAS,
Yeah.
how does that sort of...
It's, do you know what, interesting, the dynamic in there is, what's the percentages now? I think it's about 60% of the UK Special Forces are ex-Marines, which is a vast chunk. Yeah. And the other 40% is made up of the other services, so a lot of Parachute Regiment guys, and various other cap badges that then go into it. But actually a huge chunk. I mean, don't quote me on 60%. There'll be lots of people out there, forces guys, it's not 60%, it's 58.2. But that's, you know, it is one of those things. I know it's a big chunk actually are ex-Marines, and that's both Hereford and Hull.
Being one of the top men in the SAS, and huge respect from everyone I speak to about you in that. What happens at that point when a terrorist attack happens? Do the SAS get triggered straight away? Get it here now?
Yeah, more or less.
Yeah.
You know, you know, the police, the armed response police units are always on the scene, and we've seen it splashed all over the TV. Yeah, right? So they are an effective force. But when they need reinforcements, when it becomes slightly more serious, when we're talking about dirty weapons, you know, weapons of mass destruction, chemical weapons, stuff like that, or when it becomes a terrorist attack that the police need support, then that's when, you know, it takes a lot really for the government to give the tick in the box for United Kingdom Special Forces to be operational on the streets of this country.
Right.
You know, that isn't a snap decision. You know, that is a well thought over decision. But these decisions need to be made. You know, and they need to be calculated, but they need to be made fast. You know, London Bridge, you've seen the helicopter on the news. You know, we all know that was a military helicopter landed on there, and we know that there was military people, allegedly SAS and SBS guys, that were hunting down any further actions that went on in Borough Market and stuff like that. So we are, you know, the Special Forces will react to terrorist incidents in this country.
There was me and a few lads decided for some reason on a weekend that we had spare, this is a few years ago now, we were like at a loose end, should we just go and do a bit of paintballing? So there's 4 of us rocked up and there's like loads of people. And we ended up, we were like, right, we'll do this properly. We're going to, like, once we go into the sort of zone, we're going to do fire and manoeuvre, take cover, all this. And we ended up doing a proper assault on this dug-in position.
A bunch of 13.
Yeah. Literally stood over them, like literally showered them. They were like crying and everything.
Out of ammo, smashing their heads in.
Like a scene from Platoon. Did you follow the camera?
So I've never, you know, this is a fairly new podcast. It's been on for a few months now. And I've never read someone's background when they've been on. Usually I just say a couple things and we hop right in and go. But yours, I'm going to read because this is so amazing, so impressive. And I'm just in awe of everything that you have done. And I know you'll be super humble about everything because I've been following you on the social channels and reading about your 2 books and all that sort of thing. But I want to read this and then we'll just hop right in if that works for you.
Mate, you're leading. Let's go.
All right, let's do it. All right. So Billy joined the Parachute Regiment in 1983 and served until 1991, holding an array of positions, including patrol commander for operational tours in many worldwide locations, and also served as a training instructor for the regiment as a military specialist. He joined the SAS in 1991 as a mountain troop specialist and has been responsible for planning and executing strategic operations and training at the highest levels in numerous locations, Iraq, Afghanistan, South America, and Africa, and has led hostage rescues. Billy is a certified SF and counterterrorist sniper instructor, advanced evasive driving instructor, which is super fun. I love the driving stuff. Tracking jungle warfare navigation instructor, demolition sabotage instructor, ski mountaineering, rock climbing, abseiling, which for those in this country is rappelling, ice climbing instructor, combat survival, RTI instructor, counterterrorist instructor, and has worked as a patrol medic, trauma life support agent for 5 hospitals. Wow. After his career, Billy became a bodyguard and looked after such people as Brad Pitt, Angelina Jolie, Sir Michael Caine, Jude Law, Hulk Hogan, Kate Moss, Russell Crowe, and Tom Cruise. I mean, incredible. Incredible.
I was 10 years, pretty much 10 years into my career in the Special Forces. I was a senior team leader within a squadron, so I was responsible for leading guys. You know, you have a lot of responsibility in that role.
Yeah.
There's only about 4 of you in a squadron, and a squadron is, you know, a group of guys that go out and do stuff. We'd just come back from a tour in Afghanistan, which no longer, you know, that job no longer exists, and it was tough. Tempo of operations was off the scale. We were going out all the time in very what we call kinetic operations, which means it goes noisy, you get into scraps and stuff. And you know, we'd lost guys injured and dead on that tour, and I finished that, came back. You come back into the rotation of going through different commitments within that job, and then, you know, we were getting ready to go away again, and I just felt bored, and we were doing some really cool stuff, building up, getting ready to go away again, you know, working with different agencies across the board, jumping out of planes, all sorts of things, and I was like, I'm finding this difficult to motivate myself, and I didn't feel it was fair. And then when I looked deeper into it and presented myself unofficially to the psych department, which was very small, I was like, look, I'm not feeling my mojo. I want to get that back, because it's unfair, not only on these lot but on me as well. And eventually they were like, look, you've been affected, and it's had an impact, and you probably have to leave the job. And I was like, I don't want to. And anyway, I did. It wasn't like I was diving behind bins every time a car backfired. It was none of that. I just felt differently. And I also remember there were certain things that happened on that tour where I was more aware of my mortality.
Training kicks in, you do all this stuff, and it's just a surreal environment, you know, and this fucking explosion went off, and we're doing our thing, we're doing our drills that we've been taught, and setting perimeters, and we're making sure everybody's safe. And I just remember being in a position, like a fire position, looking out and, you know, looking for the enemy, and a fucking dog running over to me. It fucking comes over, it's daytime, and I'm thinking, fuck off, there's fucking dogs coming in, and I'm like, what the fuck is that in its mouth? And it just drops a guy's penis next to us, me and another guy, and we're like, what? Is that a fucking penis? Yeah, it's just, and then the dog fucking tails waggling, and it just runs off, and it was just like, what the fuck is going on? You know, it's just that, you know, how do you prepare for that? You know, and then next thing it's bullets overhead, and you're back in the cars, and you're back in, and that's your induction. That's your first firefight.
Well,
from the outside looking in, I always look at, like, visualization's a big thing for me. How do I want to act when something happens? And you all run this through in your mind. You've probably done it at a basic level of, in a fight, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to posture like this, and this is how I will react, and this is how I will communicate, and I'm going to be ready. And you then get in a fight, and it's just tunnel vision.
Yeah.
And it's, what the fuck happened to Frankie? And you play everything back, and shit, it was a lot different. Like, I reacted a lot different to what I thought I would, and it's not like fucking Hollywood, you know. It's not. We see these Hollywood films, and it gives a a distorted view on reality of warfare.
Did they give you any chance to come back?
No, not really. I don't really. It was quite fuzzy when I think about it now. That period, when I look back on it, I think because I was not the first to feel affected, but it was still new to the unit, or to the British forces in general, how to deal with people off the back end of a very intense period of basically war fighting. You know, they were struggling across the board to deal with what was happening to people, and they didn't understand it enough. And so I was, you know, they were like, "What do you want to do?" And I was like, "I don't know." They're like, "Well, go home." So I'd go home, spend time at home for long periods of time, and not be around the lads that I probably needed to be around, and that wasn't probably the best thing to have done. I think the decision making should not have been left with me at that point in time. But that said, the way they do things now, there are people that are given much better management.
For our listeners, selection for you guys, what are like the highlight? You know, we have Hell Week and we have Pull Comp, and then we go out to San Clemente Island where people can't hear you scream, and that's where you get even further, torture of different sorts. But what are the highlights of selection that, you know, most people like fear, or that anticipation of death is worse than death itself type moment? What was it for you? Or
it's broke down into stages. So the first 4 weeks of selection is in the Brecon Beacons, and it's called the hill phase, where you carry extreme weight on your back over extreme distance, and you're timed along the way, and you have to meet certain criteria, certain time restrictions. And in the first 4 weeks, 70% of the course is gone in those first 4 weeks, because you're up, 4:30 in the morning, you're sat on your Bergen in the Brecon Beacons, it's pissing it down.
Taught me to fight better, because that's what I was doing. I was getting in a lot of trouble, but he taught me how to fight
Because
better.
your boxing skills, and I'm not blowing smoke up you, like, you know what I mean? You can box. You are a mean boxer. I mean, and the fight the fight you had against that 23-year-old lad, he was keen as mustard, mate. You were giving him 20 odd years,
yeah,
and you went for it, didn't you? It was a good fight. It was a great fight.
It was a proper fight.
Yeah, it was a good fight. There
I
was no quarter given nor taken on that fight, was it?
So you're still on with that? So you got to remember, right? Here's the deal. I'm in. Where was I? You'd call me sometime before. I'm putting this fight together for charity, and like we would,
yeah,
we'll do anything for charity. Yeah, no problem, Phil. I'll do it. And then I go off to the DRC, the Congo.
That's right.
Doing anti-poaching training the anti-poaching teams. So I can't really train. And you'd asked me before, will you do it? I said, yeah, I'll do it. But you did say to me, right, and mark my words, he goes, right, it's SAS veterans versus SEAL Team 6 veterans. So I thought, I can slap a 56-year-old. That's no problem.
Yeah.
Come the day of the race, I hadn't trained properly because I couldn't. I'm in the frigging jungle.
Did you have some illness as well? Did you not?
Yeah, I had a touch of malaria.
You weren't
again.
great, were you?
No, I wasn't in good condition. But I did train out there. I literally punching a tree and dancing around a tree amongst the fucking tigers and the lions. So that was my training. So I get back, and that's when you said to me, mate, we're fighting next week or something. I thought, oh shit. Okay, no frigging problem. Then I kept saying to myself, he's a veteran. It's not a big deal. I can slap an old American around. To get down to London to find out my veteran's fucking 23-year-old kickboxing champion.
He was a veteran though. He was out.
Yeah, whatever. He wasn't out actually because he stays in touch with me. He stayed in for a long.
Oh, was he?
He's now a cage fighter. He's doing really well.
Yeah, I know.
He's doing good lad actually.
Career advanced.
Connor. Anyway, so that was the story.
But as the boat was going up, the tail end was going back into the water, and it was slowly drowning the engines out. So eventually one engine sort of cut out, and that was gone, and managed to get over the next wave, and then the second engine drowned out, and at that point you're fucked. So saw another wave coming, and the boat goes broadside onto it, so it's just what's coming at that point, and you call a brace, and yeah, this wave just flipped us like it was a box of matches, and you all get flung out and come back up, swim back to the boat, start numbering off. 1 okay, 2 okay, 3 okay, 4 okay, 5 okay. And sort of looking around because there's 6 of us on the boat, and looking around, see the tail end where the engines are, see some splashing, and sort of get over to it. It's my Klepper partner, Woody. Yeah, we eventually got him back. Another team sort of took him away to start giving him first aid, and our ambulance eventually came in and took him away. And yeah, we were told sort of not too soon after that he drowned.
Holy shit.
And yeah, what can you do?
Fucking hell.
And yeah, it was kind of like the next day was all the police inquiries and stuff, and then it was just back to work. Obviously we had his funeral, which was tough. Certainly tough on the family. You know, he had his mum, his dad, his fiancée and brother, and then all the close friends. And of course they all want to know, and they have a right to know kind of what happened. So you tell them, but yeah, certainly wasn't.
I wasn't. Yeah, sorry. I don't know what to say. I mean,
no,
and that's when
it's tough, you know.
And this is in training, right?
Well, yeah, and it's kind of just the nature of the beast, you know. If you want to be part of a team like that that's going away to do, you can't train in perfect conditions, because chances are the operations aren't going to be in perfect conditions. You know, throughout my career, I think certainly the time I was in, there was more injuries and deaths in training than there was on operations. And you know, it's a bitter pill to swallow, don't get me wrong, but it kind of has to be that way.
The best of the best are the SAS and the SBS, and from what I've seen or heard, it's because of the training.
When was your first deployment with the Marines?
I went out to Afghanistan with 40 Commando to Sangin DC. It's a small state. It's a small area. It's a region of southern Afghanistan.
And that's where you were operating in that region.
That was our AO, our area of operations. So we'd keep that sort of safe, make sure that the Taliban weren't infiltrating and slowly pushing out as well. So Sangin DC, when you knew you were going to Sangin DC, you knew you were going into the sandpit. You knew you were
a hot spot.
Yeah, that was the hot spot of Afghanistan in the southern region of Helmand Province at the time. And I was a lance corporal.
Yep.
But when I got out there, within a week, I got field promotion to section commander.
Right,
because my section commander had to take on a different role.
Coming off selection is horrendous. I think back to that and I look at what's going on now with recruitment, which is pertinent to yourself, and it's a shame.
Yeah.
Because I had one-on-one with a colour sergeant in the Royal Marines. He gave me a load of leaflets. He said, you're going to come back and do a competency test, which, like, that could have passed.
Mm-hmm.
The statue, it's easy enough, you know. But he gave me a leaflet and it was all about fitness training. And when I look back on it now, for 15, I'm actually quite impressed with myself.
Yeah.
I used to get up at like 5 o'clock in the morning. I'd leg it down to the local rugby pitches. It's like a couple of miles. And do my circuits down there. And then once a week, I'd put a rucksack on and I would yomp to Milton Keynes down the A5, which is about 20 miles.
That's mad.
I know. Getting
and
like
that
cabbages thrown at me by fucking idiots driving down the A5. People lobbing stuff at me like that.
What tour were you on when you got the Gallantry Medal from the Queen?
Yeah, so I received the CGC Conspicuous Gallantry Cross, and every one of my tours has been different as well, which has been brilliant. From sort of door kicking, conventional like smash, brilliant, high value target missions, and then a mobility operation way out in the desert, like Mad Max style, and then for my last tour I went to Kabul. So obviously the first ones were like Kabul as well, and some other ones in between that, but I then actually ended up back in Kabul, working quite an autonomous role with some other partner forces and another special forces group, and I fucking love that tour. But anyway, there's two specific jobs that I got the medal for, and so it was kind of wrote up for two. One had a really kind of strategic and political impact and role in terms of the size of an improvised explosive device attack that was planned in the city in Kabul, which would have had a devastating effect on a specific NATO base, but also would have unsettled the whole area as well. So, and I was being watched by all the Five Eyes nations, all the other special forces nations. A lot of pressure on that job to execute and provide mission success for that. So that was one job. And in short, there's obviously a little bit more to it and more intricacy. And then the next one was, again, working within the partner force. I kind of stormed a little position that two guys were with on my own. And so it was a couple of jobs and bits and pieces. But look, every night and every day, guys were going out and, you know, and doing these kind of missions, you know, and there's a little bit of luck and as to who gets recognised, because the things that the guys are doing, you know, day to day, or were doing day to day, is fucking extraordinary. But it's strange in special forces. It's kind of, I felt a bit weird receiving it, because it's your fucking job, right? That's what you sign up for. So to receive recognition is a bit weird. You kind of, and Brits are generally like that. You're like, oh, I don't really want to. Can we not? You know what I mean? But we're not very.
I know you're playing this down.
Yeah.
Because you and I spoke a lot about this. You're playing this down, and we'll move on to that. We'll do a whole story on that one, because that's an amazing story. Now you're definitely playing it down.
Yeah.
But what you did, and with your team around you, was pretty phenomenal.
You was deployed to Iraq with the SAS, right?
The RAF through the Air Force, and we would be the Overwatch. So when all these things were happening, we'd be in the sky, thousands of feet up, and I was like the on the ground, the surveillance in the sky for the whole squadron. So I remember once following this one vehicle for about 6 hours without looking away from the screen, and my fucking eyes wanted to fall out of my head. But I remember it was surveillance followed by the talk onto a job. So I literally watched through this fucking high-powered lens the Sabre Squadron arriving, all the Rangers, and it was like watching it from a bird's eye view in detail and thinking, shit, this is how it looks from above. And watching the guys even stack up on the doors and the windows, and then the heli team coming in. I saw the whole thing happen, and I was responsible for making sure that they knew what was going on the whole time. Who was outside the building, who was on the fucking roof, who was walking around. I was reporting on everything. I mean, I was mentally fucked.
I think I was robust enough physically, completely paid zero attention to admin. And and people always say, you know, what do I need to do? I'm going to go and do, and I'm like, don't worry about the fitness. You be robust. Make sure you can sort yourself out in the laundry.
Yeah.
When you're ironing your kit, when you learn how to, mate, it sounds mad. Learn how to fold clothes.
Yeah, it just takes a lot of pressure off you, doesn't it?
If you can do that, you'll get sleep.
Yeah.
You'll be ready for the next day. You won't, like, first inspection ever. Like the drill instructor comes into the. I'm not even dressed.
Yeah.
He's come in. I can remember being like, I'm going to cry here. He's shouting at me. What's going on here? Phoning my mum, I'm queuing up for a phone box. There's a new thing.
The BT phone boxes.
Queuing up to phone home.
Yeah.
Bawling my eyes out to my mum. What have I done?
So what is British Special Forces selection?
You know, the real Special Forces selection is 6 months long. So this is a very condensed version of it. And all those tasks, there's a reason why you do them. Some people don't like the fighting. And particularly in the UK, men will fight women. And there's always controversy around that. But the idea behind it, listen, you train to go to war and you don't know who you're going to fight. You know, I've been in battles where women have tried to kill us. You know, the enemy is the enemy and you have to deal with that. It's up to you how you deal with it. There's only one way to deal with it, it's to eliminate it.
Have you ever in combat had like a physical fight with someone, or?
Yeah, but no woman. But I mean,
in general, like you've had to like.
Yeah, you've got in hand to hand. Yeah,
wow.
Yeah. When stuff goes down and you're in close quarter combat, you deal with what's in front of you.
Yeah.
Whatever's there, you know. And if you're going in on a raid to take someone down, you're physically in there amongst it.
Operation Boris with the SAS. You was on that mission, right?
At the back of my mind, I'm still thinking, well, this could get called off at some stage, because we've been called off so many times before. We're like, okay, all right, yeah, whatever. As we were up in the helicopter, we flew out over Freetown and out to sea so that they couldn't hear us, like, because we had to wait for these guys to call us in at the best time, so we had the best amount of light. So, anyway, we're going around this holding pattern, blah, 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 blah. And at this stage, I'm thinking, well, we can still probably get called off here. So I'm not really that bothered. Do you know what I mean? I've had all the orders. I know what I'm doing. I'm just stood against the thing. I've got my hand on the rope, and I'm like, yeah, all right. And then we get the old thing in our ears. It's like, right, zero alpha has control stamp, and now we know it's on. Yeah. It's on like Don Juan. We're going now. This is actually this is proper. And I remember that night before I turned around to have a look at me mate to say this is good. This helicopter just went woof and just like fell out of the sky to get into its like attack pattern to come down the. I'm telling you what, I must have left after breath. It's probably still there now. Over Freetown somewhere, do you know what I mean? There's a sausage floating about. It's
Are you signed up to specifically go to Parachute Regiment?
Yeah, and it's one of the only 3 units of the British military that has a selection process. You know, you can go into the engineers, you can go into the signals, you can any other unit, then go to the airborne unit. But I went directly to that. That's, you know, I wanted that challenge. I wanted to be that one of those sort of elite right from the start. So yeah, I mean, it was kind of the proudest moment of my life, you know, being badged as a Parachute Regiment soldier, paratrooper. And I had 9 brilliant years there. I stayed there. I was able to, I did 2 operational tours through that 9-year period, and then I ended up back at the training establishment as a directing staff, you know. So I'd gone full circle. I'd done all I wanted to do, been on operations, been on exercise, traveled the world. And then it was, after that time, it was like, where do I go next? And then that was SAS.
That was the SAS.
You're on test week, but your first thing you do is the 9-mile speed march. Do your 9-mile speed march, do your Tarzan assault, you do your endurance course, and then you do your 30 mile. At 30 mile, you get given your green lid. You've still got another week to go before you pass out. So you get given it. Yeah. Go back to the accommodation, you shape it and all that, but you've got the week. That last week is called King Squad. Yeah. Where the King Squad is the most senior recruit troop in training. You think you're the fucking dogs dangly. Yeah, you fucking cut around. Basically, when you walk around as a unit, everyone else has to come to attention, even officers, and that's pretty cool. It's quite a cool little thing. It stems from King George, who gave the honour to the senior. He came to visit and was impressed and said, right, the senior recruit troop will be known as the King Squad. And then you come crashing down to reality and realise you're bottom of the pecking order.
Where did you go? What was your first role?
I went to Plymouth first.
Which was 42.
I did do 42. My initial one was Brigade 3 Commando Brigade.
Mm-hmm. Once you're in the club, as in, you know, at the very top of it, the collection of individuals that you go to work with, in inverted commas, I mean, is that as broad a church as you can find, or are you all very similar?
No, they wouldn't want everyone similar because it would be a nightmare. There's just everyone across the board. You'd never pick them out in a lineup either.
I thought just like small angry Scottish men.
There's a lot of them. To be fair, there is a lot of Scots. Yeah, because I don't know why that is. I mean, they breed tough people, didn't they?
Yeah, you have to be. But it's really interesting you say that they wouldn't pick them out, because you read about it. You're always told that it's the ones you never notice that are the ones that make it through.
Yeah, to be fair, it's been said that much that you probably would now.
Right, okay, yeah, exactly. You haven't said much, you're in.
Wiry guys with beards and attitudes, and
yeah.
20 years at the unit. Have you ever had to kill anybody?
No, I wouldn't answer that.
You wouldn't answer that? Do you have any idea how many missions you've been on?
Well, you know, I cannot add it up, right? So the different variations of types of missions, but on the third tour we did 182. That was at a particular time when the governance was really, really contested in Iraq. It was like, I think at the time it was General McChrystal who was leading the task force, and it was absolutely critical. You know, it was at that point where people really believed that country could go into a full civil war. There were bombs getting driven into markets that were killing hundreds at the time.
Example of a scenario in which you basically, it was the peak.
I can.
Is that a question that you get quite a lot?
No, I can. I've just got to work out a way of wording it without getting into trouble.
Right.
I've been involved in something where we were in the middle of an absolute shitstorm. And
that looks like
it was
what?
Surrounded, getting brassed up, shot at, blown up.
And how many of you are there?
Brassed up's very different than kind of brassed up.
Brassed up.
Because being surrounded and getting brassed up doesn't sound that bad.
Brassed up slang is being shot at, and the reason they say it, you know, there's brass involved, as in not the brass he's thinking.
Yeah.
Because being surrounded, brassed up. You know,
and it was absolutely petrifying. We'd lost a guy dead already, so he's getting carried around, he wasn't a part of my team, but part of another. They're having to carry that guy towards danger. You know, it was.
Where in the world were you? Unspecified. South Equator.
Hot and sandy.
Hot and sandy.
There was moments within that. I had a couple of moments in that night, on that night. One where I was fucking scared. I was way into my career by this stage. But I was so scared that I can remember being in a ditch, and I've spoken about it before, wanting to be at home with my mum. I don't know why. Well, I know why, because it was fucking scary, but ultimately my mum, you know, she's a great person, but she does my nutting, so I can't, you know. Sorry, Mum.
Swapping one war zone for another.
Yeah. She's an amazing person, but yeah.
But everyone,
she's a mum. She's a mum.
It is weird how you've seen it a lot where everyone always turns to their mum at the end, like in the worst moment. Go, I
read an
my
article
mum.
the other day. Apparently, the most often said thing as you're about to depart
want your mum,
is,
want it's a safe place.
Yeah.
It's been documented in films as well. You look at Saving Private Ryan, and that there's a moment in there where there's a guy dying, and his default is his mum. But ultimately, I can remember thinking about my mum. Got myself snapped out of that. Got back into it. It was honestly horrendous. We got, at one point we were told we were surrounded by God knows how many baddies.
Yeah.
And there was
but
another.
Is that tens, 20s, 30s,
hundreds? Apparently.
And how many?
I actually know this story as well. I won't obviously because when we did that stuff in 2007.
Oh
yeah, that wasn't long. That wasn't.
So you were surrounded by hundreds of people. And how many of you are there?
30-ish.
Right. Okay.
I think it was a little bit more, but not much more.
Not great odds.
Yeah, and I can remember another moment where I was like, we ain't getting out of here. And then it's like, fucking, you cannot think like that. We did, obviously, but you get out of there and you just, you end up talking to lads, you're like, that was horrendous. Everyone was smoking at the end of that, smoking like rollies and whatnot. That's probably the reason why I wanted to leave.
Yeah.
When I at that early point.
Yeah. And then you went on, put your chit in for selection.
Yeah.
What year was that?
Ended up 2002.
Summer.
I did it. I didn't do it twice per se. Did selection, got to the trees, so I passed the hills, trees. Day before final X in the trees, I fucking got Kazivac because I had an infection on my ankle, so I'd either got stung by something or I got jabbed by a fucking stick.
Yeah.
Went through, the material part of your jungle boot, gone through there. It's in a difficult position. I'm making excuses for bad admin, but it is, you're trying to keep it clean, but it's just in the oggin all the time.
The jungle
shitty, dirty, gritty. Ended up getting a bit infected, and I was like, fucking hell, and I don't know, apparently I was delirious or something. They got me in, and he's like, no, you're out of it. And I remember I spent a week in the hospital in Brunei.
Yeah.
Just on some IV antibiotics, just thinking to myself, am I ever gonna fucking do this? It was like, got me down.
Yeah.
So I had to wait basically for 6 months.
Yeah.
Waited the 6 months until the next course was at that point, and then I joined them for pre-jungle.
I was going to say, so you didn't have to do the hills again?
No, didn't have to do that. That was fucking good. I think I must have been doing all right on that one, and they just come back on the next jungle. So I joined the lads the Monday after they finished endurance. I joined that. You sort of feel a bit down. Not down. I was excited to get back at it, but you don't know they all know each other because they've done 4 weeks.
So you passed SAS selection, then went and trained with the SBS in the South Coast?
I went to Boat Troop, which was still have diving capabilities then. So I went straight down to Poole, where I live now, and straight onto the boat and diving course, the old swimmer canoes 3, and I went straight on that, and it was great because all our mates from selection who were all the bootnecks, we had a fucking great time, and again another fucking hard course, absolutely, still getting thrashed. You just passed selection, 6 months on that, and then we got 3 months of getting fucking thrashed again by boat and dive team, doing the hills underwater really, But I loved it, I was a diver anyway. I'd done some diving before, and for me that was another fucking great thing that I wanted to achieve and get amongst, and I loved it.
I have a very, very good friend of mine, my best friend that served with he was Power Edge and he went SBS, much to your dismay, probably. But and he got medical discharge after being blew up in a faraway country. And the MOD is still trying to pay, I don't want to pay him out.
I think I know the individual. I think I know him, and we've spoke. Same guy. He got a TBI. He's got a brain injury.
Correct.
I think the SBSA have been looking after him well, and all this SBS SAS sort of rivalry. We all go through the same. Some of my closest friends are in the SBS, irrespective of the rivalry we have. The fantastic bunch of pals, you know. And I think the SBSA are like really trying to help him, but it's so hard. It's not just, you know, they're one of the good, you know, the SBSA, every time I come across them, they're good. They're trying to dig out them. And we were trying to get the individual a scan, you know, a meg scan, which is basically a £7,500 fucking meg scan that gives you a diagnosis and a prognosis, tells you how much injury you've got and whether it can be fixed. So we were working on, I'm sure we were working on that case.
Mate, I thought it was like a week's long hide and seek.
How long did you spend in the bag then if you didn't get caught 48 hours?
Yeah, it's about 48, just under, I think it's 36. But I've done it, mate, I've done in R2I 3 times. So I did the old alert when I was in the Marines.
Before going on selection?
Yeah, when I was 18, I got loaded onto, like, super lucky.
18, that's young.
Yeah, I did my para course at 18.
Yeah.
And then after that, I went and did my LERPs.
So you knew basically what was going on then?
Yeah, but the LERPs was in Germany, which I found that harder because when you go on the run, you go in pairs.
Okay.
So there's just 2 of you. You cover like super long distances, and I ain't got a fucking clue where I am. We're in southern Germany.
In the winter.
Big forest. January, mate. It was ice. It was freezing. Snow. You see the Alps from where we were. But you do 36 hours interrogation at the end of that.
Beast.
Which is a graft.
Yeah.
And then I did it when I was in Recce Troop. They all, good old them. They organised a fucking
in-house.
We did like an OP exercise, which was fucking sat in a hole for a week getting pissed on.
Yeah.
Not actually pissed on, like rained on. And in fact, I can remember when we extracted from that fucking OP. I'm going off on a mega tangent.
Yeah, that's right.
I remember like we knew we were extracting. We had about 8 hours left in this hole in the ground. And I was like, oh, Jim, I need a shit. So I got the cling film out. Fuck me, it was like water. Like just drenched the whole fucking admin area in this fucking.
You know, I know my stuff, but then all of a sudden you become a threat. Am I going to get promoted over you? God, this new lad's just come in. Hey, fucking hell, I wanted that course. He's now on that course. So I found that the military, especially especially 9 Parachute Squadron, which was great for me again. I look back at it and I think, fucking hell, they put me through the mill. You know, they put me through the mill. You know, God, fit old boys. Don't get me wrong. You know, machines. You know, did they have that sort of team ethic? It was more of a hoorah, you got to be one of the lads, you got to go out and fucking, get in scraps, that drinking culture, that fighting culture. And Liam, that just wasn't me. I was this kid that fucking bounced over from the UK, bounced over to France. On weekends I'd be playing bowling, drinking coffee. And I came over to the UK and it's smashing the beers down, it's fucking fight, this whole island mentality, so the culture shock was huge. And I didn't really take to it.
I think the main difference between SAS SBS and SRR, SAS SBS, we've got an offensive capability.
Yeah.
SRR is 100% surveillance and reconnaissance and intelligence gathering. Yeah. Okay, so SRR would never be expected to go in on a target. They're there as the surveillance and the reconnaissance for SAS and SBS. Yes, SAS SBS, we've got our own surveillance capabilities. We've also got our own covert surveillance capabilities in the form of 14 intelligence company. But SRR was mainly stood up to support SAS and SBS operations in Iraq and Afghanistan. They basically used the exact same tactics that we used in Northern Ireland. So the tactics we used successfully, defeat terrorism in Northern Ireland. Okay, we used that against the insurgents in Baghdad and Afghanistan successfully.
I've got my parachute wings from when I was in the army, and I've got my green beret. So I tip up, and people think I'm either in sniper troop or I'm in recce troop. But I go to Bravo company in 40 Commando. But they were just a different mentality. It's like you've earned your green beret. You're now one of us. We push you to be better. What do you want to do? It's the elite conventional forces of the that and a parachute regiment are the elite conventional forces of the military, and the Royal Marines being the elite conventional forces of the Navy. So they were way more mature. And I remember speaking to my officer, and he said, "Ant, there's going to be a lot on your plate here, a lot of expectations. You know, from the army to now here, you're cutting around with your wings on, which is going to upset a lot of people, which it did. But you now need to, you know, put your money where your mouth is, basically." And that's exactly what I've done, mate. I kept my head down. Went on, done a tour in Sierra Leone on a short-term training team where I was teaching advanced jungle warfare, because I'd been to Sierra Leone before. Got back off that, and then I deployed to Afghanistan on Op Herrick 7.
It's well documented that the SAS destroyed the insurgents' capability in Baghdad.
Yeah.
Their bomb making capability. I think they dropped it down from 40 a month to 4 a month in 6 months. And that's a combination of working SF, working in conjunction with covert military intelligence to provide intelligence for the SF guys, SAS SBS to do the strikes.
Wow.
So, yeah.
I hear a lot of criticism for SAS, but for British troops in Holt, saying, why were we in? Why did we evade Iraq? You know, why were we even there? It's being there on the ground is different to the kind of political kind of picture that everyone wants to be. Because everyone will go, oh, you're there for the oil. When you've been there like yourself and seen the atrocities that have gone on, it's justifiable, isn't it?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Do you think that's a fair statement?
It's military necessity is what it's called. Obviously, you've got to sacrifice a few to save a lot. It's military necessity.
Yeah.
We seen it in Northern Ireland. There was incidents there which arguably could have been stopped, but because it would have exposed certain things, obviously, through military necessity. Okay.
And I remember looking, and I just saw these two legs, bipod legs, come over and land on and I knew what that was, and it was an RPK. Brrr, the burst comes in, and it just it came in. It was like thing, you know, and I'm still like, huh.
Yeah.
And if you could get a spoon out and start digging, you would.
Yeah.
You know, because all of a sudden it's like, well, you know. And I'm trying to get to my rifle that should have been next to me, you know. And it's because actually we were working for that particular piece. We were working with some Green Berets from the US, and we had divided they were mentoring some Afghans, and the Afghans had left their post. Simple as that. There's a triangular harbour, the 6 o'clock position, or in essence, that where it was supposed to be. He had gone, so they just stumbled into us, saw a load of Brits and some American Humvees, and thought, well,
Love some of that.
You
Yeah.
know? Now I wasn't scared, but I'd be pissed off. At myself for not being near my rifle. But secondly, you know, as Brits, we've got this attitude, don't we? You cheeky bastard.
Yeah. So when was you first deployed to Afghanistan?
That was 2009 tour was probably the best and the worst tour I've ever done.
Well, let's go to the best part of it first, and then we'll go to the worst part of it.
Best part of it, because I was I'd gone out there. I'd done 2 weeks, and all my other tours before I'd done R&R, slap bang in the middle.
Yeah.
Just to break it up. But I spent all my money on that 2 weeks. And I was sick of blowing all my money. Just lashing it up. So I was like, fuck, I've got to do something here.
Yeah.
I had a missus at the time.
Yeah.
And it was quite serious at that time. I would buy a house and things.
Yeah.
So I did a 2-weeker, and then the first R&R. Then I'd have the whole tour to save my money. So I'd come back off that 2 weeks, got back into camp, and I was still on the jackal at this point. I hadn't even got off the jackal, back from Bastion to Juno. The Sergeant Major comes out and said, Radders, do you want to deploy? I'm like, fuck yeah. He said, go and pack your kit, you're going in 3 hours. Then I went on Tiger Teams. That was me deploying.
Tiger Teams, are these Afghan liaison officer type things?
Yeah, so I've given...
Yeah, mega. That's
given
a
an
mega
Afghan
job.
team, and I was just rolling around Afghan, doing what I wanted, mate.
Really?
I was literally... I didn't answer to anybody, mate.
That's it, just... And where did you base? Were you based out in the field with?
Yeah.
With these people, so it's sort of like an FOB, but they're FOB.
Yeah, so we'd have like our comms, so it was like...
What do you work at comms sked back every day, or
yeah,
all that sort of stuff?
Every night. We'd fire comms back and they tell us where we're going to redeploy to. Heli's coming in to pick you up, you're going to be deployed here. Predominantly I was with the Welsh Guards for the whole time. They were taking quite a beating down in Nadi Ali North, a place called Chanan Jaya. So we went down there, and they were getting whacked.
And your stuff was trying to prevent this and see where it was coming from and be the sort of like the eyes and ears of what was going on around them.
Yeah, so all the ops we went on, we were at the front.
Yeah.
And then we'd have all the Welsh Guards behind us.
What are the rules, Fred? If you're seeing an Afghan with a gun, you've got a gun, he's pointing at you. What are the actual rules? What are you allowed to let fire go?
Well, when I was there, we operated under the rules of engagement, and then there were specific engagement boxes where you could maybe do a pre-move. They were called ops boxes, and then during that area where the rules engagement is still there, but it gave you a little bit more leeway in what you may have been able, may not do. It simply comes down to, if you believe and perceive that there is a threat to life, you can engage before that individual. So I'll tell you a story actually, because this could have changed my entire life. I was asked to go up, and a Royal Tank Regiment, I think it's called Falcon Squadron, where they were bringing in some armoured vehicles, and they'd been flown into Afghan, and they needed to be taken down to Bastion. And I was a subject matter expert at transport. So I was moving. I was, logistic patrols was my thing. So I went up to advise on their move, and then advise bringing them down. And it was a huge convoy of armoured vehicles that they were bringing down, and we were going through Kandahar. I was at the back of a Mastiff Cupola cover, had my rifle, and I was talking to the commander. And as we were going through, we turned left at kind of like a makeshift roundabout, big crowds, and you could see the crowd parting. We're higher, so we're looking down. You can see that happening, and and this person comes flying through the crowd. They had this big, heavy jacket on them, and I lifted my rifle, thinking, and it was a kid who basically, I think he took out like a rock or a stone or something, and was just, and I was like, Jesus Christ, I nearly killed that kid. I had to make a split. Was he or was he not? So that's what it is. Now, I'm not going to go into what could have happened, whatever. All I know is that, that happened all the time to every single person that was out there. That's not special to me.
You've spoken about a unit with a longer selection process than Special Forces, less pay, almost no public recognition. So why does a unit like that exist, and what can you tell us about it?
Yeah, it's the ML, so it's the Mountain Leader branch of the Royal Marines. So a lot of guys who are MLs then do go through selection. Most of them, when you ask them, say that the ML selection is harder than Special Forces selection. Just by the nature, like, I haven't done it, so I couldn't comment. But what I'll say is, when you meet mountain leaders, Royal Marine mountain leaders, like when you're serving in the military, you just meet people and you immediately are like, that is a highly professional, elite soldier, like elite performer. Just everything about them, from their kit, the fitness, mindset, they're just unbelievable soldiers. And part of that is that selection process that we go through, and then the training afterwards. So it's a really unique branch, and it's one that is just held in massively high regard throughout the military, and it exists because we've always had, so the Royal Marines traditionally have had that Arctic and mountain warfare capability. They've owned those capabilities for a long time. It's kind of like the other one, the Pathfinder Regiment within the Paras. Again, don't hear much about them. Like, there was a few guys that were on my selection that came from it. Again, just incredibly professional. They remind me of the MLs, like those two branches. The kind of way that they carry themselves and how good they are at the basics of soldiering is, both incredibly professional, elite in their own regard, in their own right.
So you chose the SBS over the SAS?
When I failed the second time and I turned it around, went to mountain leaders, etc., I got to a point where, I still want to do selection, but I couldn't, because you only get 2 chances. I wrote to Hereford and said, look, I'm a bit, I didn't say I was a legend, but I said I was a Royal Marine, mountain leader, can I please have another go? And they wrote back and said yes.
Brilliant.
So I was like, I'm in now. But then I had to write back and say I was too old, so I had to get permission before.
Why? How old do you have to?
You have to be under 30 or 32 and under.
Is that what the rules are? Is
it?
Okay.
So I was 33, and he goes, "Yeah, I got just your necky little shit. I know who you are. You're not a grey man now, so you've got one chance." Yeah. So then I went and did the SAS briefing course, which was a week, and at the time it wasn't particularly it wasn't testing. Yeah. And I did it because they gave me the chance. So I passed that, and then I went on a course where I was with a few SBS guys, and I goes, I've got another chance. And they're like, well, come to pool. I was like, yeah, I want to go to pool, but I've just done the SAS kind of selections. I'll just come and do the SBS one. I was like, all right. So I went and did the SBS one down here, 2 weeks one, and then I did actually want to join or go for the SBS, but I'm probably sure I pissed off.
What you mean? You wanted to go for the SAS?
No, originally because they give me the chance. I went
2 opportunities. Okay,
yeah,
so
to do whatever course. I mean, you can change while you're on selection.
Yeah. How do you know who's good and who's bad?
You don't.
Because they're all wearing the same white.
You don't.
How do you just don't know? Oh God.
You don't. One thing that the Canadians thought was they've got these vehicles called LAVs. They're like a light armoured vehicle, and it's like a massive box, just a huge. But that you could fire anything at them, be fine. And then they'd look at the Brits and they'd be like, "You're not even got windows and doors." What? But we had a different mentality. Ours was be seen, be able to look into the eyes. You know what I mean? It's different to being in a metal box.
So are you walking? I just wanted to visualise this. Are you walking around the streets?
So that wasn't that wasn't my role.
No, okay.
So my role was logistical supply.
Yes.
But in order to get the supplies where it needs to be, you have to transit on 1-2 day patrol just to get up there. And then once you're there, you are then under the command of the local commander, who might turn around and go, "We've got something going on. We need your help."
Right, okay.
And then you would dismount, you would then become the infantry role.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because you're always ultimately you're a trade. You would look at it as being you're your trade first, or you're a soldier first, you're your trade second. Really, technically, so everyone's a soldier, and then you've got your trade.
By the end of that tour, towards the end, one of our roles was to look after the camp security. So they'd have towers up in the camps and we would man it, and it was all kind of rotated and take times between whatever you were doing. And I remember being on the front gate of the camp, the British camp. So any sort of ingress, egress of vehicles that were coming in and out of the camp, we would have to check. So it's kind of the bollards, there's a sort of chicane that slows the traffic down, where their weapons kind of get out, show me your ID, who are you, where the fuck are you going, that kind of usual jazz. Name's not down, you're not coming in, sort of thing. These two vehicles rolled in like Hiluxes, like 4x4s, just kind of pickup trucks. And there's 2 of them, and there's about 6 to 8 guys in there. They jump out. We can see that they're British. They're wearing fucking jeans, like approach shoes, flannel shirts. They've got different caches on. The caches are like body armor and things that carry your magazines, and different radio systems, different weapon systems, beards, long hair, caps, sunglasses. Cool as fuck.
Yeah.
I was like, who the fuck are these guys? I was. It wasn't until, they got their ID out and it was obviously British, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, didn't ask any questions, in you go. And I remember them sort of going through, and they were super polite, really humble guys, addressed everybody, looked at everybody, spoke to everybody really well. And then in they went to the camp to do whatever they were doing, their meeting. And I remember at that time sort of thinking, who the fuck are those guys? And I remember speaking to one of the other guys beside me, like, who the fuck are those dudes? They look like fucking badasses, you know? And it was the SBS. So that was my first physical sort of interaction with special forces. Now, I'd known about special forces. When you're going into the Marines, I'd started reading books before I joined the military, and that's another precursor to why I think books are incredible. I didn't read much. I wasn't an academic at school, but when I left, I started reading the things that I was interested in, autobiographies and all this kind of stuff, and military history, Marines, paras, and then special forces. So I had an idea of who they were and what they did, but it was kind of shrouded in mystery.
When I got to the point of joining the Royal Marines and I got through and everything, and I then went up to 4-5 Commando, went off to Northern Ireland, went off to Iraq and all that stuff. It was at that point where I came back from Iraq, and I didn't join to polish my boots and be an admin soldier, you know what I mean? It's like I wanted to be at war every day, and I think, well, the majority of people, that's why we all join. Not everyone, but that's why the majority join. So coming back, and I was like so disillusioned because there wasn't enough of that going on for me. I was like, this ain't what I thought it would be, And drifting back to my trauma as a kid, this constant search for this war, you know what I mean? It wasn't fulfilling my needs. And it was like, I got to the point where I built this massive perception up of what it would be, and that then didn't come to fruition. So that then caused a lack of confidence in me. So for me to then think about being a Special Forces soldier, I was like, nah, that's not for me. These guys are carved from marble on another planet and then sent down to Earth. And it was only because, I was like, this is it, I'm going to leave. It was like, at that crossroads was Special Forces civilian. And doing what our minds do, I went the path of least resistance, the path that seemed more familiar, seemed more safe. And that was, just leave, that's not for you. And it was only because I went down, I don't believe in coincidence, this happened for a reason. But I actually went down to my brother. My brother had just joined the Navy as a pilot. He was just passing out down in Dartmouth. I went down there for his pass out parade, and unbeknown to me that he'd be there, but my officer was there from 4-5 Commando that was that took me to Northern Ireland, took me to Iraq, and his girlfriend was actually passing out in the same batch. And we were like, whoa, good to see you, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, he was asking what I was doing. I was like, oh, I'm going to leave. It's not for me. And it's the words that he said to me that day were so transformational. And my life wouldn't be where it is now if it wasn't for this. And he said to me, I'm so shocked that you're saying that you want to leave, because I believe you've got what it takes to be a Special Forces soldier. And I knew that's something that you wanted to do. And I was like, no, I was down again. He went, you know what? If you don't try it, you regret that for the rest of your life. And those words, from someone that I respected, and as you know, Lee, we don't all respect the hierarchy, do we?
No.
But this man I did. I respected him, I followed him, and for him to have faith in me, I felt I had a duty to go for Special Forces. Now, I want to say this as well, right? Because everyone goes, oh, you've got to have belief, you've got to have, all you need is belief. And I disagree with that, because I didn't have belief, I didn't have confidence, but because I respected him so much, I borrowed confidence off him.
Wow.
What I did fall in love with is the outcome of what that looked like and how it felt to actually pass that select. What was the outcome? How did it feel to me?